Refuse to give the gift you promised my daughter? Fine, I'll take away the gift I got for you, by user Grinch. This year I got a new job that has been paying me very well. Therefore, for this Christmas I decided to splurge on everyone. In particular, I spent a lot of my money on my 9-year-old daughter and she deserves in 100%. She has been pushing herself in school, helping around in the house without being asked, and always being the kindest soul you'll ever meet. However, when my mother-in-law came early in the morning and saw how the gifts under our tree were much more than usual, she asked why. I told her I bought everyone a bunch of gifts, including her. She then proceeded to ask how much gifts I got my daughter and I told her about 3 big gifts and 3 mini ones. Apparently, this outraged her because she started saying that a 9-year-old did not deserve that many gifts and she would be taking away the gift she bought my daughter so that my daughter wouldn't be too spoiled. I told her that was unfair, especially since my mother-in-law promised my daughter a doll for Christmas and my daughter was looking forward for it. My mother-in-law said let it be a lesson to my daughter that in life she can't get all things she asks for. Look, I understand that, but it's not like I shower my daughter in gifts every day. And if anything, Christmas is the day you are supposed to spoil your children. But my wife told me to let it go and it was her mother's gift and therefore she could do anything she wanted with it and her mother agreed, saying it was her right. And if we were going to play with that ideology then so be it. I decided to remove the $600 designer bag I got my Mill, the thing I knew she wanted the most, and gave her a $40 robe instead. Once my Mill opened her present she was disappointed, asking if that was all from me, because everyone else got increasingly more expensive gifts from me. And I said yes and apologized if I disappointed her, but we can't always get the gifts we hoped for. This left both her and my wife extremely furious, but hey, the Mill got enough gifts, I wouldn't want to spoil her. Mill gave me a scale for Christmas, by user Canadian in Germany. Known as the worst gift, at least in German-speaking circles, my Mill got me a scale. My revenge is that by the time she got me the scale I had already lost my pandemic weight that she was trying to shame me for. I don't see my Mill too often. In April of this year I finally decided to do something about the 60 pounds/30 kgs I had gained mostly during the pandemic. I started walking 3.35 kilometers/38 minutes per day, on almost every day, and simply cut out dessert on nearly all days. No other change was necessary and I lost 1 to 2 kgs per week. Slow and steady wins the race. It wasn't super easy to keep up either of those changes, but I stuck with it. By September, when I caught COVID, I had hit my target weight of 75 kilograms and due to COVID actually went down to 69. By the time Christmas rolled around I have held my weight at 75 kilograms plus/1.5 kgs for nearly 3 months. I have a scale, and it works, but it is a little old and worse for wear. My Mill seemed disappointed that her message was not needed and I had already resolved the issue. So at least I enjoyed the petty revenge, already achieving the what my Mill was hinting at before she even bought the present. Can't respect people by sharing their photos without consent? You won't get to share anymore, by user Lumicorn. My father is the most obnoxious user of social media I've ever known. He frequently posts private information and photos about his wife and kids without our consent on his public Facebook and TikTok. Even worse, he frequently photographs women in public, sometimes in compromising positions, and posts their photos without their consent or knowledge. Think women in bikinis sunbathing on the beach. Yes, I understand how disgusting and borderline illegal this is. I've told him time and again how this is inappropriate and how he needs to stop. But he won't stop. He revels in the reaction he gets online from these posts, every like, view, and follow. We've had so many yelling matches about this I've lost count. I've repeatedly used my own account to report his posts, especially those of unsuspecting women, to hopefully have them taken down. He recently asked me to help him fix something on his phone. I noticed he had his Facebook app open and was in the middle of posting another photo. So, I told him I needed to consult something on my laptop and walked away. I proceeded to privatize all his accounts, delete a bunch of photos, and modified his profile settings so that no one could see his past and future posts. I then closed the apps, fixed whatever he wanted me to do, and returned the phone to him like nothing ever happened. I'm not sure how long this will stick before he realizes and changes his settings back. He's not the most tech savvy, so I'm hoping he'll spend a good, long time confused about why no one is liking his shit. If you're going to discriminate against me, make sure you can do your job without me, first, by user 11zins. Once upon a time, I worked for a health center in their billing department. I'd been there for quite some time already, and knew the office inside and out. Staff turnover had actually been rather rare. But, when the office manager decided to retire, things swiftly changed. At first, we got a brilliant ray of sunshine as our new office manager. She really changed the office, modernized how we did things and helped establish us as a stellar place to work. I'd never been happier. But, good things can't last forever. She was a star, and was offered a much better job at another health facility for a lot better pay and benefits. We literally cried when she left, we had adored her so much. Before I go any further, there's a few things I need to add in. Details, no. I have a mental illness called schizoaffective disorder. It's the depressive type. I actively have auditory hallucinations and frequent bouts of serious depression. But, I've had it for decades now and it's well controlled with medication and cognitive therapy. One of the things that office manager did for me was to make sure I had a number of accommodations set up. One of them was the use of a special task-oriented website, and the other was to be allowed to listen to a noise generator website. Both of these were vital in helping me maintain concentration and get my work done efficiently and correctly. About a week after the new, and now old, office manager left for her new job, we got Karen. I know the term is overused, but my God, stereotypes exist for a reason, and the reason was this lady. Karen immediately set about making her mark on the department. All the goodwill we had built with our previous supervisor was out the window in short order. She immediately tightened restrictions on the office. Silence was in order. We were not allowed to speak unless on the phones or talking to a patient at the front counter. She even sent an email telling me if I had to blow my nose, I had to get up and go to the bathroom to do it. She also had a devil of a time figuring out how to do reports in our billing software. As I had been there forever, I was tasked with showing her how to do things. It was an exercise in patience and teeth grinding. And futility. She absolutely couldn't figure it out. I tried everything to teach her. Printed things out, highlighted things, added things up and showed her the tape, marked reports with arrows. Nope. She wasn't getting it. And she blamed me for it. So began what I can only describe as a 2-year terror campaign on her part to punish me. She forced me to move from the desk I'd been sitting at for over a decade. Reminder, I'm schizoaffective, moves like that can easily cause chaos in my brain for months until I settle. Just thinking about it makes my heart start to race, it was awful. My new seat was now right by the door to her office, and in sight of everyone in the office. My paranoia was at an all-time high. She then began having IT track all my internet traffic. If I checked the weather on a day we were supposed to get snow, she had me in her office asking me what I was doing on non-work related sites. Any site I visited that actually was work related got questioned. She made sure I knew she was watching me and everything I did. This included the 2 websites I was using as accommodations. I explained how I use them and why, and she was not having it. She went to HR and explained the sites I used were unprofessional. HR decided to side with her, and told me they were removing them, and asked me to find a more professional way to do things. Then comes the clincher from Karen. She looks me dead in the eyes and says, if you're too sick to work here, then maybe you shouldn't work here. And that was it. I knew what she was doing was discriminatory, and HR wasn't going to do anything to protect me. So, that's when I decided I was going to get a new job, and make sure she crashed and burned on my way out. I collected everything. All her nasty gram emails she'd sent out over the years. All her sticky notes. I kept copies of spreadsheets and other things showing she was absolutely incapable of doing the job without assistance. My assistance, mind you. I was doing 80% of her job for her. These I assembled in a binder, complete with date and time stamps and explanations I'd typed up and printed off as covers to each incident. The binder was so thick I ended up having to start a second one. As I did this, I applied for another job at a non-profit. They interviewed me, and the HR lady asked for permission to speak to my current supervisor. I hesitated, and then explained why I'd okay it, but to expect her to attempt to tank me. And boy, did she! I could hear the condescending tone of her voice through the door to her office, even if I couldn't quite make out what she was saying. And I knew she was talking to the potential new job's HR lady. HR lady called me after and asked if I was still in contact with my previous supervisor. The one I adored. I was. We were friends on Facebook, and as soon as I contacted her there, she was glad to help me out by speaking to this potential new job's HR. They offered me the job the next day. I cannot tell you how satisfying it was to walk into Karen's office and give my 2 weeks' notice. Her face just fell. She'd been defeated and man, it was a sour taste in her mouth that she couldn't contain. Because for all her bluster that she wanted me to quit, in reality she didn't really want me gone. She knew she couldn't do her job without me. And now that very reality was staring her in the face. Those last 2 weeks were grand. I blew my nose in the office. Checked the weather whenever I pleased. And I stopped doing her work. Just mine, which I made sure was 100% caught up before I walked out the door. She was stressed and struggling, and asking me to do things for her before I left. I said sure, and tossed whatever it was into a drawer I didn't touch for the remainder of my time there. Of course, on my last day, I had my exit interview. I didn't stay long. I just informed them they had a very incompetent manager on their hands, gave them the 2 binders of dirt I'd collected, and reminded them that people don't quit jobs. They quit bad management and poor HR decisions. Co-workers in the office kept me abreast of developments after I left for my new job. She lasted less than a month after my resignation. There'd even been a huge blow-up in the middle of the office between one of the HR folks and Karen over her incompetence. Since I wasn't there anymore to clean up after her, financials were a mess and they were in the red for hundreds of thousands of dollars that were unaccounted for. All because Karen couldn't figure out how to do her job, and she'd been there for over 2 years at that point. It's been a few years now and I'm still super happy at my new job. And from what I hear, she's now working in an office of a dinky little place where she's in charge of absolutely no one for a fraction of the salary she was getting previously. As it should be. Body shaming me? I'll let you all taste your own toxicity, by user Grenot. So I'm from SE Asia, where it's very common for relatives to comment on your appearances a.k. a body shaming, especially towards their nieces. Some of my aunts really likes to comment on my weight. My BMI is categorized as overweight. But I'm actively trying to lose weight by switching to healthier food. I already lost 4 kgs, 8.8 pounds, so far, and my current BMI is only 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds, away from normal weight. Every time there were family gatherings, these aunts would always surrounded me and said, "Wow OP, are you aware you're getting even fatter every time I see you? You're not that pretty, so getting fat makes you look even uglier. You should start dieting because no guy likes ugly girls, let alone ugly fat girls." On one of the family gatherings, I already had a bad day, thus my mood isn't the greatest, then they surrounded me like vultures and start yapping the same shit. I got so angry that I snapped and said, "Wow aunties, upon closer look, you all actually got fatter as well," then walked away. They were so shocked they all fell into silence. I know it's not nice to do the same shit as they did, because what makes me different than them if I also commented on their appearances as well? But after receiving that reactions from them, I committed that as long as they were the first to initiated the body shaming, then I'd say the same shit they threw at me. They told me I got fatter. I also said they got fatter as well. Told me I'm ugly. Them as well. No guy likes me. They neither. This repeated for a few more times within a few family gatherings. Then suddenly, I'm not fat nor ugly anymore.